Father of creation, whose Son Jesus incarnated in time, and whose Spirit enlivens our lives today. May we honor the height of your creation, the human family, and every hue that you choose to give each person of our family human. Jesus, brother of us all, your prayer to the Father that they may all be one through the Holy Spirit. May we witness this unity of one. Spirit of God, in the month of appreciating the gift of your children of African descent, may we be inspired to see your kingdom's mystery and facet of one's jewel of our human family's descent. Unity, the prayer of your incarnated Son, disciples praying on our Father that may we all be one, that we all may be one. One love of the family human, one in hope for the family human, one in faith in the family human. This month, next month, and every day henceforth. Amen.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Welcome, everybody. This is Mr. Palucci, and I'm here with a very special guest, an alumni of STVM. This is Danielle Stokes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Danielle Stokes. I actually was in your shoes once before, and I graduated in 2012, actually. Soon after graduation, I went on to Kent State University, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in marketing. And now I actually work at Google as a digital strategy lead on a high-touch growth team.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for being here and for sharing some of your experiences with us today. Today, I am going to be talking to Danielle about her experiences as a Black woman. This is going to be part of a little series that we do for Black History Month, highlighting just some of our recent alumni, some of the people that are a part of the Irish family, and keeping in the theme of family for Black History Month. So Danielle is going to answer a few questions for us, just about some of the different sort of topics that tie into Black History Month and that theme of family. Everybody clearly has a different definition of what family means to them. Family is not necessarily limited to just blood relations. And I was curious, as a Black woman, what is your definition of family, and how has your identity as a Black woman helped shape that definition?
Sure. So to your point, family goes well beyond blood. You know, that's more the traditional definition of family. But for me, I'm a little bit more modern, and my friends are my family. People who just accept me as I am, help me grow, you know, help me see the world from a different lens are people that I would consider family. And those who I feel really safe with and also can trust and have a good understanding that they really want to get to know me, but also allow me to be able to tap in and get to know them on a deeper level as well.
Wonderful. I think that it's so important for us to not put limitations on our idea of what family is. And that does kind of tie into our next topic of discussion, which is diversity, not only in the academic setting, in our social settings, but also in the workplace, and how it's important to have a wide variety of individuals contributing different viewpoints to what we work on and how we do our work. So my question for you is, could you share maybe an example where you saw the direct benefit of diversity in play, either in a work environment or in an academic environment, or even just in your social life? Any example of diversity really just kind of strengthening a situation or making things better?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing for me would specifically be at my job at Google. So as of right now, we all are working from home, but when we were in the office, I actually have a privilege that my manager is also a Black woman. And just seeing her be able to climb the ladder and achieve things that she's been able to achieve at Google, even though she may be the only person on her level in certain rooms who looks like her, provides a great deal of inspiration for me. And just having that diversity and understanding that, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too, has been extremely beneficial to my growth in my role, but also helping me figure out my direction as well.
That's wonderful. It's really encouraging to hear that you do have a role model at your place of work that so directly represents you. And representation is another thing that is so directly important to the development of that idea of family. You know, you want to be able to establish that kind of common ground with people, and people can be apprehensive to, you know, interacting with others if there is a barrier in that connection. So having that representation is so important. On the topic of representation, where do you feel you are most well represented as a Black woman, and where do you feel you think there could be more representation of Black women in certain areas, whether that be the professional world or, I'm not sure, the academic realm again? Where do you think there's a successful amount of representation for you, and where do you feel like there could be more?
Great question. So I personally love fashion. Huge fashionista, even though I am just like in straight chill attire today.
It's okay. I'm wearing what I wore to school today.
Exactly. So I feel like when it comes to the fashion world, you know, especially streetwear and things like that, there's a lot of representation just, you know, across the Black community. And I really, really love that because it is a way that I choose to express myself. And again, it's very nice to see people who look like me kind of doing the things that, you know, eventually I'd like to do. Or maybe, you know, taking some pieces that historically, you know, we weren't permitted to wear, and really just kind of representing ourselves and holding it true to our culture ultimately. So that's one area that I think we're really doing a great job at when it comes to representation. An area of improvement, I would definitely say that even though my job is wonderful and there's so many different resource groups and resources in general that we can leverage, I do think that even though we're progressing, there's still some opportunity for, you know, the Black community, especially in leadership positions specifically.
I do think that I've experienced that as well. Just seeing how it just seems that in most positions of power, whether that be in academic scenarios or in professional scenarios, it seems to be a bunch of old white guys. And I think that though they have a certain perspective to contribute, when a leadership position is oversaturated by one demographic of people, you end up hindering progress. And in order to, develop as a world, we need to incorporate as many different ideas as possible. And I think that representation is just so important. Well, I'm glad to hear that though the work experience might not have, might not have exactly all the representation that you need, that there is still some, and that you're able to use that And as we move forward in all aspects of life, hopefully that representation will be a little bit more present. The last topic that I'd like to talk about, probably one of the most important things, is identity. How you feel about yourself, what you identify as, whether that be, again, your career, whether that be your role in your family or as a friend. I'm curious about how your identity has developed since graduating college, moving into the professional world. Where do you think you were in relation to where you are now with your identity, and how do you think you've grown?
Great question. I will say that when I was sitting in the same seats in the rooms as you all watching this,
with the thin walls.
Yes, the thin walls, all the above. I remember, it's a very unique period of time where you're kind of transitioning into womanhood, ultimately, for myself personally. And it's kind of confusing because it's like, I don't know how to do this. Like, how should I identify? It's hard for me to just really figure out, I guess, myself and the kind of impact that I wanted to drive as an individual on an individual level. Not to mention, I also had a twin sister. It made it a little bit more difficult to have my own identity. But as of today, the beautiful part about it is that we've both been able to experience different scenarios and situations. And myself personally, I took time to just really study my culture and things that I just feel like, I wasn't able to learn growing up, and just kind of surrounding myself with people who have a good understanding of it. But with that being said, I feel like today I definitely am purpose driven. I've identified my purpose, which has helped me really kind of define my identity a little bit and really provide me some reassurance and understanding that I'm a unique person. We all are unique people, just coexisting and operating in the same sphere of things. But nonetheless, like, you are a very unique piece to like this massive, beautiful puzzle. So that's where I'm at today. And I'm so happy that I've been able to take some time for myself to really get to know me and understand my purpose.
Good. I'm glad. I think that notion that we are all just a part of that, we are all a part of the same world. And even though we have that one thing connecting us together, that uniqueness is so important. And to unearth that uniqueness and to discover it has been so hard for so many Black individuals in the past. And that's why this celebration of Black History Month is supposed to be kind of a help for that. And it's so important that, as members outside the Black community, our non-Black members understand that as well. And that's kind of why we're having this conversation. We want to make everybody feel as comfortable as possible. That way they're able to hone in on that identity. As soon as you discover that identity, living becomes so much easier. And for so long, it was not easy. And it still isn't easy for so many different demographics of people. And I'm just so glad that there's so many different role models like yourself for the young people out there that still need to find that identity. I think we're all still working on that. Well, that is basically everything that I have. Thank you so much for sharing your insight on all these different topics. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy work schedule to be with us today. And if you have any last messages for the student body for Black History Month, the floor is all yours, Danny.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I adore young people, specifically in high school, because it's such an interesting period of time where we really have to allow ourselves to learn and open our minds. So my only request for you all during Black History Month is to take some time to really dive into the culture, and really understand how to avoid making sure that history doesn't repeat itself in some situations, but also discover what Black joy looks like, because I feel like we all do deserve to see it.
Hey everybody, Mr. Palucci here again. Thank you for watching that interview. I hope that you guys really enjoyed it. One thing that Danny wanted me to let you guys know is that if you need to reach out to her for any reason, maybe if you just want to thank her for giving the interview, or thank her for her insight, or maybe you just want to network with her, her information is right up above me here. You can email her at daniellestokes@google.com, or you can reach her at her work phone number, which is 734-619-3173. So,
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Corbett and the administration at St. Vincent St. Mary High School for allowing me to take part in this celebration. During the month of February, we celebrate significant impacts people of color have made in our lives. Today, we focus on family. The man I'd like to introduce you to is a man by the name of William Henry DeShazer. William Henry DeShazer was my grandfather. Now, some of you who know me as Officer Shady or Coach Shady may ask, why do you have different last names? This short story about my grandfather will answer that question. My grandfather was born March 17, 1901 in Louisiana. The family moved to Georgia when my grandfather was a small boy. And although my grandfather could barely read or write because he had to drop out of school in the 5th grade to help work the family farm, he was one of the smartest and wisest people I ever known. My grandmother passed away in 1968, and my grandfather moved in with us. He lived with us from that time until the time of his passing in 1984. During that time in school, I was learning about the civil unrest and the struggles of people of color in the South. I would learn things in school and then come home and talk with my grandfather. I was in a unique position that I could speak with someone who had personal knowledge and who could tell me things that I couldn't learn in the books. My grandfather would often talk about how he would walk to school or to church or to the store, and he would be spat upon, beaten, cursed at, called the N-word, and would be told to go back where he came from. My grandfather always knew that he wanted something better for himself and eventually for his family. And although my grandfather endured those things, he still believed in Dr. Martin Luther King's nonviolent acts. My grandfather never retaliated, but often said, I just sat back and I learned and I wanted to do better. My grandfather came to Akron in the late 1920s searching for work. He applied at the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company, but was turned down because his older brother was already employed by the company. At that time, Firestone did not believe in nepotism. My grandfather searched for work, but when he could not find work, he returned to Georgia. Several years later, he married my grandmother and knew he needed to do more to help his family. At that time, he made the conscious decision to change his name legally. He changed his last name to Shady. Shady was his nickname. And if you ask him, he would tell you it was because he was cool. But if you ask his siblings, they would tell you that whenever there was work to be done, my grandfather could be found underneath a tree pretending to work. My grandfather returned to Akron in the late 1930s and was hired by the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. Several years later, he moved my grandmother, my 2 uncles, and my dad to Akron, Ohio, where we have remained for the past 100 years. My grandfather knew he needed to do better, and he wanted to do better, and that's why he moved here to Akron. My grandfather used to have a saying, and I'm going to close with it. He used to always say to embrace the past. Don't let it define you, but learn from it and allow it to empower your future. And I leave you with that. I want to thank you again for allowing me to share a little bit about who I am and what makes me the person I am. Thank you again, and God bless.
I am proud to be black. Original poem written by myself, Eric Brown. I am proud to be black because my rights weren't given, they were earned. Started all the way back in history, yet most people treat it like an unsolved mystery. My ancestors didn't come here by choice. My ancestors didn't even have a voice. They were put on ships and heard, "Hoist the sail," delivered like mail, imprisoned like they were in jail. And the worst part is that there was no bail. I'm proud to be black because of all the hard work and dedication. Some of us got some real good education, so much so that we used it to change the nation, like Ben Carson and Mary Jane Patterson. Most of you know Martin Luther King. Bet you didn't know he went to college when he was only 15. It didn't always start this way. We weren't allowed to read or write back in the day. You know what we did though? We prayed. Hoping God was there, getting down on both knees and yelling, "Lord, please deliver me." Tired of picking up all this cotton, and at the end of the day when we're brought in, let there in bad conditions like rotten tomatoes, but we didn't complain. We sang to the Lord through our collective pain. I am proud to be black because we took liberty into our own hands, left from the landowners' land to be free, only for there to be a major shift in society. Now it was like slavery with rights. We weren't even able to sit on the same side as a white guy. And little kids began acting shy around the little black guy, and that confused him, made him wonder, why? Was it the color of his skin, or was it something else within? We're gonna go back to Martin Luther King because he did something amazing for me. He spoke. I'm proud to be black because we finally found our place, though you shouldn't have to do that as part of the human race. The efforts of many people, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, our people who were thriving in the arts, it was lifting up our people's hearts. Then, someone went missing. There seemed to be a lot of whispering. Suddenly, the king is dead, the king is dead, Martin Luther King is dead. He was shot right there on the spot. Peaceful protest meant nothing. It was considered harm, and someone pulled the alarm to rid of the threat. It set everybody into a fret. But we're not done yet. It gets better. I am proud to be black, not because I think I'm superior, but I also don't think I'm inferior. I'm proud to be black because when we take a look back, I can give you the facts that you put on a shelf. They say history is doomed to repeat itself and change starts with you, but who knew that we were the generation that's starting anew? Dr. King dreamed of two races becoming friends, and I'm glad to see his dream met its end. We went from plantation to changing our nation, and it's hard work, perseverance, dedication, education, communication, and cooperation that'll change the whole nation. I learned this from my ancestors, and that's why I am proud to be black.
Time